That's the tricky part. There comes a time when you have to, when you're working on a deadline and you have to say, okay, this is good enough. And then there's also that other sort of end of it, especially with your first book, there is no deadline. And you could really kind of tinker with it forever, and you could work on it over the span of 50 years, and it would be so much better after that, at the end of the 50 years than it was after the end of year one. But there comes a point where you got to let go of it and know that it's going to be as good as you can do at this moment in time. With books, it's tough. I know a lot of authors and have met a lot of authors over the years, and some of them, will get like a 3-book contract. Maybe they spent 5 years writing their first book and they finally get it sold, and that publisher says, okay, now we want 2 more books in the next 2 years. And when you read those books from those authors, they're not as good as the one that they spent 5 years tinkering with. And that's just the way the business goes. I personally, I don't think I could crank out a book in a year or even 2 years. All of my books have taken me, gosh, my first book took me almost 10 years from when I started writing it to when it was published. My next book took about 6 years. I'm hoping this third book I'm working on, I'm hoping to shrink down the time frame on that, but every writer is different. And it also depends on what you're writing. There's certain types of writing that is easier to write, and it's not that I shouldn't say easier, it's a faster pace. Maybe it has less of the details. It's more of a thriller, and so it's all about the pacing and telling the story quickly and keeping the pages turning, versus, say, a literary novel that's all about symbolism and really digging deep and creating lots of layers. And so you have to know what you want to write and how long it's going to take on average. And then sometimes it's just a matter of forcing yourself to sit down and write, even if you feel like it's not very good. Get those words written. If you're on a deadline for words or for pages, get it done, and then worry about polishing it with your editor later. Not everything is going to be a masterpiece, but everything can be good. And as long as you manage your time well, you get it done on deadline. I used to try to do that, and I found that more often than not, I never met my goal, and then I would kind of beat myself up for it. So now what I kind of do is I tell myself, okay, I'm going to spend 3 hours today on my novel. Sometimes I write 1,000 words. Sometimes I write 100 words. Sometimes I go backwards and I start reading over something that I already wrote, and I I come up with a negative word count and page count because I've cut stuff that I thought, okay, I don't need that in there. For me, it seems to work best to just say, look, I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to think about it for 3 hours, even if I'm staring out the window and I'm not even writing at all. As long as I'm thinking about it and I'm in the story and I'm in the heads of my characters, then I'm going to count that as a good day. And hopefully by the end, I've sort of balanced out, and it's, but I also know writers who say, you know what, I'm going to write 1,000 words. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write 1,000 words. I don't care if it takes me 4 hours or 10 hours. I'm not getting up from my desk until I'm done. And if that works for you, great. Then, you have that sort of routine and that discipline. But for me, I found that I was just always too hard on myself. If I didn't hit that goal, I would just be like, oh, I suck. So now I just say, you know what? I thought about this book all day long. Maybe I didn't get a whole lot of words on the page, but it's up here, and eventually it will get to the page.